So it looks like Marc Daly will have to see his daughter, Brooklyn, finally, because now a judge is going to force both Real Housewives of Atlanta star Kenya Moore and Marc Daly to face off in court so we can finally be done with this divorce. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So one of the longest divorces in Bravo history could somewhat be over, but there's still more finalization that needs to happen. Look, in comparison to what Bethany from the Real Housewives, formerly of the Real Housewives of New York, went through, I think Kenya is dealing with a situation that is less scary. Come on, you remember the things when it came to Jason Hoppy. So if we look at what went down between Bethany Frankel and Jason Hoppy for years, I feel like they were divorcing almost a decade. I don't want that for our girl Kenya Moore. I don't want that for Marc Daly. I don't want that for Brooklyn. Most of all, who cares about Kenya and Marc? Oh, look, I said it. I don't want that for our little girl Brooklyn, because this divorce is just, luckily for Kenya, according to most reports, according to her, he's not really in Brooklyn's life. He hasn't seen Brooklyn in a long time. Well, according to this new court decision, he might have to see his daughter finally in Atlanta or not. There's a stipulation. So let me just update you on the latest drama in regards to their court filing. So according to Radar Online and these court documents, because I know you guys were like, Radar Online, well, they have the court documents. Okay, so this is from the court documents. So they said Real Housewives of Atlanta star Kenya Moore will be forced to see her soon-to-be ex-husband Marc Daly after being ordered to try and hash out their differences privately. So they said the decision comes only weeks after Marc Daly accused Kenya of breaching their custody deal in their nasty divorce. They said according to court documents obtained by Radar Online, the exes have been informed they are required to appear for an October 6th mediation. The judge noted that the appearance and participation of all parties is required at the scheduled mediation session. However, Marc, you better go to Atlanta. They said Marc, who lives in New York, could appear via telephone if his lawyer appears in the Georgia court. Always a loophole. But I wonder what he will decide, because at the end of the day, if according to Kenya, you haven't seen your child Brooklyn, the most adorable baby that we've seen on reality TV in a while, if you can't make time to come down to see her in Atlanta, even if using this as an excuse, look, I don't want to force him to be a father, but come on. Come on. No matter how you feel about Kenya. So the judge said it appears, quote, that in the interest of the parties to try and resolve their issues by attending another mediation. The past mediation ended with Marc accusing Kenya of refusing to execute a, quote, partial settlement they reached. So you may have recalled, we haven't covered every single story on this divorce because I just couldn't. Okay, because I'm ready for this divorce to be over. So apparently, according to Marc, they had reached a partial settlement. However, Kenya denied the deal was ever finalized. I need this to be over, like yesterday. The two were supposed to have a trial in their divorce, but it has been held up. The judge now wants them to try to mediate before the trial takes place. Radar Online first reported back in July that Daly had asked the court to find Moore in contempt of court for allegedly violating a court order when she allowed their 4-year-old daughter to be near a near fight on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. You remember that trip that they went on and Marlo was kicking down the door and Kenya came out screaming, "My daughter is in here." And Marlo proceeded to say, "I don't care." All right. So he used this as an excuse to bring her back to court. So Moore, as you know, has primary custody of their 4-year-old daughter, with Daly having visitation. As part of their previous custody battle prior to the divorce, Daly tried to keep their daughter off of the reality show. But you may recall, and we've talked about this before, Kenya's opposed the request, claiming her contract to the Real Housewives of Atlanta required her to share all aspects of her life on the show. And she probably would have lost her job if she could not film with Brooklyn. The judge ended up siding with the reality star and ordered Brooklyn can appear on the show. He noted that there was no evidence that Moore would put their daughter in any inappropriate situations. And when Kenya was recently here in New York City doing multiple interviews, she said that now part of the reason why their divorce is delayed again. This is according to her. I don't know if this is the truth. I just want to point it out. This is what she said in a previous interview. She said now he's trying to renege on the set agreement that they have because allegedly he's filming some sort of reality show and he wants Brooklyn to appear on it. If you recall, at the end of the day, all Kenya has to do in order to have Brooklyn on the show is to let him know. She makes the final decision on whether or not Brooklyn will be on the show. Of course, now if he is really filming some reality show, she could say no. She's the deciding factor. And honestly, I wouldn't blame Kenya if she said no. You'd barely come to see your daughter. You're a FaceTime father, allegedly.
Hold on, guys. I have to get in front. Hold on. Excuse me.
Why should I allow my daughter to be used so that you can make a check? Honestly, we saw Marc Daly on reality TV. He wasn't that interesting, and he wasn't willing to be open. So now you want to prop Brooklyn up because she's adorable and cute and articulate for a 4-year-old? For you? Kenya say no. Radar continues. They said, however, the judge did rule that Kenya shall notify Marc of any opportunity where the minor child will appear on camera and shall advise Marc of the content of the appearance. The minor child will only be involved in opportunities that are age appropriate. Marc Daly argued that Moore let Brooklyn be near her co-star Marlo Hampton, not near, when she attempted to kick down Moore's hotel door. The child was sleeping inside the room when Hampton went off. The scene was featured on, as you know, the recent episodes of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Marc also claimed that Moore filmed a pizza commercial without informing him of the deal. In addition, Daly said that Moore refused to cooperate with, quote, in-person visits. So he's saying that she won't allow him to see the baby. He said that he only talked to Brooklyn twice in June, despite his repeated requests for FaceTime calls. Moore fired back at the allegation. She claimed to have notified her ex about the pizza ad. In regards to the Hampton incident, she said Brooklyn was asleep and was never aware of the incident. Kenya also refuted the claims that Marc is saying that she has blocked him from visitation, saying mother and father had an established scheduled time daily to call the child. In an attempt to create issues, father began to erratically change the times that he wanted to call on a whim. He did this for the purpose of attempting to create an issue. Mother has implored father to be consistent with his calls, which he refused to do. Nevertheless, father has been random in his behavior and unwilling to stick to the established schedule. In his failed attempt to have this court and the public believe otherwise, the evidence will show that the father is simply, quote, a FaceTime father who is inconsistent with even talking to his child at best. And this is according to Kenya Moore's motion at the time. Radar reports that the case is ongoing. We know, Radar. We know. We're over it at this point. And here's the thing, and we've said this before. I can't remember what pop culture news story we were talking about. This cannot be. This is part of the reason why I did not cover the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. A lot of you reached out to me that, Kempire, we would love for you to cover this trial. First of all, I cover a lot of different topics. If I had covered Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I would not be able to cover anything else because it was a daily task. I know, easy, because some of you that hate me, not hate me. They're like, oh, you only doing this for clicks and views. You know how many stories that I could report on for clicks and views that might catapult my channel to 1 million followers? You know how many stories I could do? I don't. I don't. I do things that I'm interested in because I told you I didn't quit my corporate job to cover crap that I don't want to talk about or interest in or advocate for. So that was part of the reason why I didn't talk about or cover the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation, because I felt like it was two exes that were in a toxic situation and that were continuing that toxic relationship and that weirdness with this trial. One of two trials that they had. So with the situation with Kenya and Marc, I feel like this, and I felt the same way with Bethany and Jason Hoppy. And the sad part here, unlike the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation, I know you're probably like, how did we get there? Follow me. At least with that situation, there wasn't a child involved. Bethany and Jason, they have a child involved. Kenya and Marc, they have a child involved. I would hope for both of them and for the sake of Brooklyn that they could put their issues aside and finalize this divorce, because your bigger task here is going to be co-parenting with Marc and with Kenya. That is the bigger task, so that she will grow up to have a wonderful life, so that she will grow up and not have the childhoods that maybe Kenya or Marc had. I don't know their childhood. We know more of Kenya's, but we don't know Marc's. Let's make sure our intention in whatever we're doing is for the child and not for us being petty. Or, no, you're not going to do this for whatever reason. If it's not in the best interest of the child, stop with this drama. Look, I know all of us are sick of it, but you know who's really feeling the brunt of this? Brooklyn. And I know no matter what I say, that's not going to change Marc's mind. That's not going to change Kenya's mind. Kenya has said in multiple interviews that she would love for this to be over. I don't know. She could tell us whatever. She also presented us a blank subpoena for it. I'm sorry, Kenya, but that was funny to me. That was funny to me. Funny. I just want this to be over for the sake of Brooklyn, because the little bits that we've gotten of Brooklyn, I'm so glad that she seems like such a happy, just down-to-earth 4-year-old child that loves her mommy, and I'm sure she loves her daddy. Marc, I would love for you to be more than a FaceTime father. I would love for you to actually show up for Brooklyn, because no matter how we feel about you, the audience, she needs her dad too. Doesn't mean she can't grow up and be a wonderful person without one, but I'm just saying, two love is better than one sometimes, as long as it's love and it's not toxic energy. There's so much we could talk about. Guys, as always, I want to know your thoughts on this latest update on the saga that is Kenya Moore and Marc Daly's ongoing divorce. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.
You bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire.